On this 21st Sunday in Ordinary Time, let's take our bearings and navigate our faith together, trusting God to guide our hearts along the journey of everyday life. The 21st Sunday in Ordinary Time presents us with a profound look at how God establishes order and authority to guide His people. In a world where leadership and power are often viewed with skepticism or seen as means for self-gain, today's readings offer a very different perspective. God's model of authority is rooted in service, stability, and a deeply intentional plan for the salvation of humanity. The liturgy draws our attention to the concept of the keys, a symbol of delegated authority and trust. From the ancient kingdom of David in the Old Testament to the foundational moments of the Catholic Church in the Gospel, we see how God entrusts human beings with the responsibility to lead, teach, and preserve His truth. This Sunday invites us to reflect on the nature of the Church, the role of leadership, and the awe-inspiring wisdom of God's design. Let us chart the deeper historical and theological waters of today's readings, discovering the timeless truths that anchor our faith. In Isaiah chapter 22, verses 19 through 23, we hear about the key of David. In the ancient Davidic kingdom, the king appointed a prime minister or master of the palace. This official held the keys of the house of David, signifying second-in-command authority. When he opened, no one could shut. In this prophecy, God replaces a corrupt minister, Shebna, with a faithful servant, Eliakim. This historical reality serves as a powerful biblical type or foreshadowing of the new covenant, where the eternal king of the Davidic line will appoint a new prime minister for his kingdom. Psalm 138 is a song of thanksgiving for God's trustworthiness. It's a song of gratitude for God's eternal love and faithfulness. It acknowledges that the Lord builds up strength within us and does not forsake the work of His hands. In the context of today's liturgy, it's a reminder that the Church is the work of God's hands, and He will sustain it forever. In Romans chapter 11, verses 33 through 36, St. Paul breaks into a beautiful doxology, a hymn of praise, marveling at the unsearchable wisdom of God. After contemplating the complex mystery of salvation history in the preceding chapters, Paul concludes that God's mind is beyond human comprehension. This reminds us that the structures and plans God puts in place, including the Church's authority, stem from a divine wisdom that far exceeds human logic. Finally, Matthew chapter 16, verses 13 through 20, focuses on the keys of the kingdom and is pivotal for understanding the papacy. Jesus brings His disciples to Caesarea Philippi, a region known for massive rock formations and pagan temples. Against this backdrop, Simon declares Jesus to be the Christ. Jesus responds by changing Simon's name to Peter, meaning rock. Just as God established Eliakim in the Old Testament, Jesus, the true Davidic king, gives Peter the keys to the kingdom of heaven. The power to bind and loose uses rabbinical language representing the authority to interpret the law and make binding decisions for the community. Jesus is establishing a visible, enduring authority to guide His Church, promising that the forces of death will never overcome it. To help navigate these ancient texts, let's illuminate their profound mysteries using everyday analogies as a compass for our modern faith journey. Imagine a business owner who's preparing to go on a long journey. The owner can't leave the business to run itself. That'd be chaos without direction. Instead, the owner selects a trusted manager and physically hands over the keys to the building. The manager isn't the owner, but the manager has the authority to open the doors in the morning, lock them at night, and make binding decisions on the owner's behalf. This is exactly what Jesus is doing with Peter. Jesus is the eternal king, but as He prepares for His passion, death, ascension, and eventual return, he knows his followers will need visible, earthly leadership to stay united in truth. By giving Peter the keys, Jesus is appointing him as his prime minister on earth. Furthermore, name changes in the Bible always signify a new mission. When God changed Abram's name to Abraham, he became the father of many nations. By changing Simon's name to Peter, meaning rock, Jesus is giving him a new identity. He's essentially saying, "You are the rock-solid foundation upon which I will build my community." It's a reminder that the church isn't just a human institution, it's a divine project, protected by Christ himself, ensuring that the truth will be safeguarded throughout history. With our spiritual bearings set, let's chart a clear course of actionable steps to steer our personal, family, and professional lives by the light of today's message. In your personal life, trust in God's unsearchable wisdom. When you face situations that make no sense, unexpected hardships, delays, or confusing circumstances, remember St. Paul's words. You don't need to understand the mind of God to trust his heart. Lean on your faith and trust that his overarching plan is working for your ultimate good. In your family life, be the rock for your family. Just as Peter was called to be a steady foundation for the early church, you are called to provide spiritual and emotional stability in your home. Pray together, remain firm in your values, and create a household where faith is the bedrock that your family can stand upon during the storms of life. And in your professional life, redefine your understanding of leadership. Whether you manage a large team or mentor a single colleague, view your authority as a responsibility to serve, not a license to dominate. Like a faithful steward holding the keys, use your position to guide, protect, and empower others, reflecting the servant leadership modeled by Christ. In summary, the 21st Sunday in Ordinary Time reveals God's brilliant design for sustaining his people through the establishment of visible, servant-based authority. By viewing the appointment of Eliakim in Isaiah as a precursor to Christ giving Peter the keys to the kingdom in Matthew, we see that the church is built upon a rock-solid foundation, meant to guide and protect the faithful throughout history. St. Paul reminds us that this divine architecture is born of God's unsearchable wisdom, which far surpasses human understanding. We're called to mirror this divine structure by embracing our own roles of leadership as profound acts of service, particularly by acting as a steady, faith-filled rock for our families amidst the shifting uncertainties of daily life.